Om Sadashivasamārambhām Shankarācārya-madhyamām Asmadācārya-paryantāм Vande Guru-paramparam. Om Sahana Vavatu Sahanau Bhunaktu Saha Vidyankaravavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu Ma Vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Which means, let us all be nourished with this Jnana Yajna, the speaker and the audience. So this Brihadaranyaka and Chandogya are considered the largest Upanishads in the collection of 108 odd Upanishads. They form almost 2/3 of the whole thing. So they are really, really huge. That is why this particular Upanishad is called Bruhad, huge, vast, and Aranyaka. Aranya means it's a forest, it's a dense, vast, dense forest, full of gems. So unless we navigate properly with the help of the Sadguru, it's kind of difficult to get hold of the message, the Upadesha of the Upanishads. So trivia about Brihadaranyaka, it is in prose, whereas many Upanishads are in a verse, poetic meter, chandas, but this is in a prose form. So it cannot be chanted as such. It's very difficult to memorize and chant. But the redeeming factor of this Upanishad is it's got a lot of stories. Chandogya and Brihadaranyaka have their large share of stories. That's why you find many of them in these two big Upanishads. To start this, I was just reading the invocation written by Shankara, and this Brihadaranyaka is available for interpretation for everyone thanks to Shankara Bhashya and other Bhashyakaras who have unraveled this for us and made it simple. Otherwise, it would have been very, very difficult indeed even for the very scholarly people. The Shankara Bhashya serves as a beacon of light. So, Shankara Bhashya, I was just reading the invocation written by Adi Shankara more than, how many centuries ago? 808 BC, AD. So he has said, I am writing this concise commentary on the Upanishad. Concise. It's not concise, it's huge. I am writing this concise commentary on the Upanishad for the sake of those who wish to turn away from samsara. For those who wish to turn away from samsara, so that they may attain the knowledge of the identity of Brahman and Atman, which destroys avidya and the cause of the projection of the phenomenal universe. So the entire purpose of studying the Upanishads is for the purpose of destruction of avidya. Because of avidya, this whole projection of the phenomenal universe is there for us. And then he continues, this knowledge of Brahman is known by the name of Upanishad. The very term Upanishad means Brahman. That's what Adi Shankara is saying about it. The knowledge of Brahman is known by the name of Upanishad because it entirely uproots samsara together with its cause, which is avidya, for those who are devoted to its study. For the root Sat, when used with the prefixes Upa and Mi, it conveys the meaning Brahman. So this is about Shankara's invocation to the commentary on Bhashya on Brihadaranyaka Upanishad. So this is found in the Shukla Yajurveda portion, Shukla Yajurveda. And of course, it talks about Brahma, Atma, Ekatvam. And we are all in this trouble. We are in trouble because we don't know that Brahman and Atma, Jiva and Paramatma are one and the same. So in this Brihadaranyaka, the hero is Yajnavalkya. Most of the Upadesha is given through the words of Yajnavalkya. All right. So this Upanishad is also huge because it covers a great range of topics. Great range of topics, from mundane worldly life to how was the cosmos created, and all the devatas and how to worship all the devatas. There's a lot of upasana. There's a lot of rites and rituals given here, and there is upasana, and of course there is atmajnana. Everything, it's an all-in-one Upanishad here. So that is why it's easy to get lost. What to take, what not to take. All this is a problem here. And so the most important fact of this Upanishad is its opening shloka, which is very, very popular. And it goes like this. Om Purnamadah Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. This is how it has to be chanted. Om, that is whole. This is whole. From the whole was born the whole. When the whole is absorbed into the whole alone remains. Om, peace, peace, peace. So on the face of it, this is very, very popular. We all know that. We all chant it. We have chanted it very often. But the meaning could be a bit confusing, because the term Purnam is used so many times, and at each level it has various meanings. For example, Purnam can have multiple meanings: complete, whole, full, perfect, infinite, perfection. All this is the meaning of Purnam, Purnatva. And Purna also, because it fills up everything. It fills up everything. So Purnam here means Brahman, because there is no subject-object separation in Brahman. It is non-dual, so it is Purna. And then Adaha, the second word of this shloka is Adaha. Adaha means that. The specific meaning of Adaha is that. What is that? To what do we refer to as that? The unmanifest is referred to as that in the Upanishads. The unmanifest, right? That means which is unmanifest, which is far away, which is distant, that which is imperceptible to the senses, that which is sukshma. All this is referred to as that. So who is the unmanifest in a photograph? It is the photographer. Like that, the cause of everything is unmanifest. The Karana is the unmanifest. So that Ishvara or Bhagavan is referred to as Adaha. And so what is Idam? Idam is exactly the opposite of, meaning is the opposite of unmanifest. Idam means that which is manifest, that which is near, that which is perceived by the senses, that which is gross, that which is manifest. All this is Idam, and which is the Karya, the effect. So this world is Idam. The relative truth is Idam. Dependent reality is called as Idam. Independent reality is Adam. Dependent reality is Idam. So the next phrase says Purnat Purnam Udachyate. So this infinite world has come from that infinite reality, and both are Purna, or both are perfect. So there's a contradiction here. One would say, how can this world be perfect? I can see imperfection in this world. Nothing is perfect in this world. There is grief, there is a problem, there is strife, there is poverty, there is disease. What is perfect about this world? It's a very natural question to ask. Only God, He is the one perfect. There is nothing perfect about the world that I see, that I inhabit. But this can be understood. How can this apparent imperfect world be perfect? Because God Himself says, everything in this world is subject to destruction and change. Kalosmi lokakshaya krit. I manifest only to destroy the world that you're inhabiting, says Krishna in the Gita. So how to understand this perfection in this imperfect world? One way of understanding it is, Ishvara Srishti is always perfect. It is my perception which makes it imperfect. That is the one way of understanding this. How does a Gnani see everything as perfect? Isn't it? It's only for the Jiva who is in ignorance, the world seems imperfect. But for a Gnani, it is perfect. So Ramakrishna Paramahamsa gives a very, very simple solution to how to make this imperfect world perfect. He says, see perfection in yourself. I have to see the perfection in myself, then I'll be able to see the perfection in the entire universe. How? The example Ramakrishna gives is, if the road I'm traveling is very thorny, and I want to have a smooth, I want to walk without any problem in it, I have to wear chappals. It's enough if I wear chappals or sandals. I don't have to, put a leather coating on the entire world. If I am protected by chappals, my journey is always smooth. This is what the example given by Ramakrishna, which means if you take care of yourself, I take care of myself, my vision, I make my vision okay, my vision perfect, and then the whole world will look Purnam. The imperfect world will also look as Purnam, isn't it? And so the next phrase, Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Avashishyate. So when this, what is left when this infinite world is taken away from that infinite reality? What is left? Only infinity again is left. Purnam is only left. How? Infinity can never be divided. Infinity can never be divided. For example, take the this number sequence 1 to infinity. So take away the odd numbers 1, 3, 5, 7, 9. Take away the even numbers 2, 4. Are not the two sequences also infinite? That is one way of understanding how infinity remains. That is also one way of understanding how Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Avashishyate. So the truth will not change even when it is modified. The truth is not modified even when it appears as this world. That is what this shloka Purnasya, this Purnamada Purnamidam tells. Which means the bottom line is, to cut it short, Jivatma remains as Paramatma even when he appears as Jivatma. The limitation is only a notion in the mind. Object is a notion in the mind. This is the ultimate teaching. It's the essence of all the Vedas. And so, Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. All the tapatrayas are gone when we understand this one opening shloka of the Brihadaranyaka Upanishad. What are the three tapatrayas? Adi Daivika, Adi Bhautika, Adhyatmika. That which concerns the world, that which concerns the environment, and the influences on us, and my own ignorance. All the tapatrayas are gone. Okay, so this mantra itself is a Mahavakya. And if this is a very, if this 5 lines are not, are 5 too many, 1 too many, there is one Mahavakya in this Upanishad which is very, very familiar to all of us. Aham Brahmasmi. This great Mahavakya appears in the Brihadaranyaka Upanishad. All right. So enough of trivia about this Upanishad. So let us start dive into some of the stories. Actually, the stories are mainly Upadeshas. They are mainly Upadeshas through the words of Yajnavalkya with various players. Yajnavalkya has dialogues with Samvada with many, many, many Brahma, Brahmajnanis in this whole Upanishad. So that is how the Upadesha is given. So Yajnavalkya Gargi Samvada. So this Gargi is a person whom we are all very familiar with. We have heard her name. She is one of the Brahmavadinis, a very great Rishika who has been respected and adored for her Brahmajnana. So let us see what we have in this Samvada. So Yajnavalkya himself was a Maharshi. Who is a Maharshi? The Maharshi is one who's got an all-round view. He is a Gruhastha and he's got a wholesome personality. He knows everything about everything, how to run a household, how to run a country, how to do rites and rituals, and what is Atmagna. Everything is an one-stop shop for everything that you want to know in the world. So Yajnavalkya was that kind of Maharshi, and he was a Grihastha. And he himself has written this something called the Yajnavalkya Smriti. This Smriti is attributed to Yajnavalkya. Again, it is of course about Atma Jnana. And this Yajnavalkya occurs in two major chapters of Brihadaranyaka Upanishad. And so we are here with Yajnavalkya in this great Raja Janaka's, Emperor Janaka's Sabha. Janaka was no less. He was a Rajarshi. He was an enlightened ruler. He was a Raja and also a Rishi. Very, very potent, wonderful combination. Janaka was a Rajarshi, and he was the king. His kingdom was called as Videha. Videha. And the capital of Videha is Mithila. This Videha itself is very significant. Why? Videha means the one who has, who has no deha, basically. The plain meaning of Videha is one who has no deha. Meaning, this Janaka was a Jivan Mukta. He had absolutely no identification with his body-mind complex. That is why he was called Videha Janaka. For two reasons. Number one, his kingdom was Videha. Number two, because he had attained Videha Mukti. Okay. So this is the background of this the context is this. And then once this Janaka was extremely fond because he himself was a Gnani, maybe a Gnani, a wannabe Gnani in the, during this stage. And he was greatly fond of this Mahasabhas, Jnana Sabhas. He used to host a lot of Jnana Sabhas in his court. And so in one such Jnana Sabha, he conducted a huge yagna, and no yagna is complete without a debate on Brahman. Not a debate, a discussion on Brahman was very, very, that was the highlight of this whole, in any yagna he did, that was it. So this Janaka thing, so many erudite scholars and Panditas have come to my Jnana Sabha. I want to know who is the Brahmavadi here. Who is a Brahma Jnani? I want to know. And I want to become this Brahma Jnani's disciple. Actually, he is in search of a guru. And so he declares, to the Sabha, he declares, I shall give 1,000 cows. Let us have a Jnana Sabha here. Let us have a discussion on Brahman. And whoever wins in this discussion, I shall give them 1,000 cows. And each cow is not an ordinary cow. Its ears were pierced by gold earrings. It was decorated fully by gold. 1,000 such cows. See, he is an emperor, so he can declare. It's very interesting throughout this Upanishad. Janaka goes on saying, I'll give you 1,000 cows. You give me more jnana. I'll give you 1,000 more cows. At every stage, he goes on saying this. So, the studying of these stories and these Upanishads also gives us a glimpse of the society in that age, thousands of years ago, how society was and what was their currency. Cows was a currency for these Brahmanas. What else did they want? They wanted cows. All right. So he declares, whoever is a Gnani, please get up and claim your prize of 1,000 cows. And guess, no prizes for guessing who got up. It was Yajnavalkya. This Rishi just, he just got up and says, his Samshrava, that was his disciple. Samshrava, take this herd of cows to the ashrama. Just like that, he declared. He didn't even he didn't even think, he has to justify why he himself, calling himself a Brahmagnani. He says, just take these cows and let's go. And so naturally the other Jnanis in the Sabha were furious. And to give a sample of the names of these Jnanis, Ashvala, Arthabhagya, Bhujya, Chakrayana, Kahola, Uddalaka. Why I was interested in these names was we have heard of these names in many contexts, and in their names only many Upanishads are there. And all these Brahmana, all these Panditas were there. And then in their presence, this Yajnavalkya got up and said, I am the Brahmagnan. So all these people, one by one, they objected. They objected to this Yajnavalkya's self-declaration that I am a Brahmagnani. And they said, what do you mean? How can you take away the cows? They're here, they're up for grabs. We also want to compete. So Yajnavalkya says, okay, bring it on. You ask me whatever you want. So each of these Panditas, there's a huge dialogue between all these people and Yagnavalkya. So, of course, Yagnavalkya, he just answers them all very easily. And then comes Gargi. This Gargi was a Brahma Vidushi. That means she was a knower, she was already an enlightened soul. She was a Brahma Jnani herself. There are Brahma Jnani, there are Brahma Vadinis, and there are a Brahma Vidushi. She was a Brahma Vidushi, not just a Vadini, not just talking about it. She was a Brahma Vidushi, and she got up and she said she was her father was Vachak, who was also a great Rishi, a Jnani, and she said, "Oh Yagnavalkya, I'm not going to take too much of your time. I'm just going to ask you two questions." And the way it is put in the Upanishad is two sharp arrows to torment you, meaning, it's very difficult to answer my questions. Don't be in a great hurry to go away with the cows. So Yagnavalkya says, okay, what is the question? So, that which they say is above heaven and below earth, that which is between heaven and earth as well, and which was and is and shall be, tell me, in what is it woven, warp and woof? This was the first arrow that she asked. What is it? In what is the entire thing? What is above heaven? What is below earth? What is in between heaven and earth? And what was and what shall be. Tell me what it is. And in what is it woven, warp and woof? This was a question. Very, very strange way of, the language is very archaic. The Sanskrit, I'm sure, was very, very, difficult. So this English is also like that. In what is it woven? So now all of us Vedantins here will come up with the answer Brahman. For everything the bottom we will say Brahman, Brahman for everything, but that won't do in a sabha. It has to go stage by stage by stage. So Ramana Maharshi was accused of that. Anybody asked any question, he will say, "Enquire who am I?" and you will get all the answer. It was called the Brahmastra. So just Brahmastra, giving the Brahmastra is not enough here. You have to go stage by stage. And so Yajnavalkya says, the Avyakrita Akasha is the elementary substance from which everything has emerged. That is space. Everything that we see in the manifest universe is woven, warp and woof in space. Avya Akrita Akasha, the shapeless, that is vast Akasha, space. That is the elementary substance from which everything has emerged. So Gargi asked the next question, which is torment according to her. In whom in that Akasha woven, warp and woof? For this, of course, the answer is Akshara, the immutable and imperishable reality, which is Brahman. So what is this Akshara Brahman? That is the next question. That is, he has to explain. Now he has to explain what is this Brahman. Any one of us can explain if you wish. You can give one quality of Brahman as we know it. If you want to unmute and come up with, one quality, that will be nice. So Akshara means the one which is imperishable. And this Brahman is neither gross nor subtle, it is neither short nor long. It is neither hot nor cold. It is beyond all dualities. And it is gunatita. It has no gunas at all. This Brahman has no gunas at all. And it has no relations. It is asanga. It is not attached to anything. It has no taste. It has no smell. It has no eyes, no ears, no speech. How do you explain this Brahman? It is aprameya and it is immeasurable. And it is inside, it is outside. It is neither inside nor outside. It enjoys nothing. Nothing enjoys it. These are all the things that Yajnavalkya goes on saying in verse after verse after verse, describes Brahman exhaustively. Though he says it cannot be described, so many words are used to describe this indescribable Brahman. Neti, 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 neti. With that, only by the method of negation can this Brahman be described. So what is this good to me? Why should I know about this Brahman, this non-entity called Brahman? So Yajnavalkya says, at the command of this Brahman only, Dharma is upheld, Rutam is upheld, everything is in its place. The sun and the moon, they hold their courses. The heaven and the earth, they keep their positions. Hours, moments, days and nights, fortnights, months, everything they run according to the command of this Brahman. The rivers flow because of this Brahman. All that he will say. And then he says one thing. If you don't know this Brahman, this is the crucial part. Okay, if you do not make an attempt to understand this Brahman, and if you go on operating in this world, doing so many yajnas, they're all futile. Without knowing this reality, one who offers oblations or performs sacrifices or practices austerities, even though for many thousands of years, you gain little. It's a waste of time, he says. He's just brushing it away. One who departs this life without knowing the imperishable Brahman, it is a pitiable life. One who departs this life knowing Brahman, he is a Brahmana. The one who knows Brahman, his life is fulfilled. So this is the whole point of life. There was a TED talk in which the founder, one of the executives of this famous brand, Apple brand of electronic items, he was saying, so he was asked, what makes your company so great? Why are you so, whether you like it or not, it's a premium brand. It is most sought after. Why? So he said, any company has to define three things. What are they doing? How do they do it? And why do they do it? What do I do? I know I make the most user-friendly and most efficient computers or in all these electronic devices, iPhones, everything we do. What I do, I know very well. The world knows very, very well what is Apple doing. How do they do it? Well, we have the state-of-the-art facility. We employ the best guys, the best brains in the in the market, and we spend years on research. Blah blah blah. How I do it is also very well known. Why do I do it? That is the crux which makes all the difference for the company. Why do I do it? Many of them might say for profits, for making to become famous, to become powerful, to control the market, to have the market share, the maximum market share. All those things are there, but deeper than that, the why has to be. It should be very, very personal, and it should be very elevating, is what he said. Apple's why is we want to give our consumers the best possible user experience with our products. That is the why he defined. Similarly, all of us have to define the why of whatever we are doing. All the yajnas that we do, all the practices that we do, the japa, tapa, dhyana, the rites, rituals, pujas that we offer, everything that we do, why do I do it? Most of the time, the reason is very, very, very kamya. I want something, so I do it. I want some deva to be pleased with me. I want rain, so I appreciate the rain god. I want wealth, so I appreciate. I do some yajna. I want to conquer the world. All these rajas were doing it. That's why I do the Ashwamedha yajna. I do the Rajasuya yajna. Most of the karma kanda of the Upanishad is for acquiring everything in the material world. But this Yajnavalkya is saying, without knowing Brahman, if you're doing the principle of Brahman and the purpose of your life, if you're doing all this, it is all futile. So, we should all define our why, the purpose of life. Atmano mokshartam jagadhitaya cha is what our Sadguru Shri Prabhuji has given us. My whole purpose of my life is for Atma Jnana. What Sri Shankara has told in the beginning of Brihadaranyaka Upanishad, to remove avidya and to understand the principle behind the whole of me, to discover by my true nature, Atmano mokshartam jagadhitaya. While I am at it, what will I do with my body-mind complex? I serve the world. Seva, Jagadhitaya, for the larger. So the complete selfishness is replaced by selflessness. The small self is replaced by the big self. So this is what Gargi and Yajnavalkya Samvada was uh, all about. And so Gargi, of course, was extremely happy and impressed with Yajnavalkya's depth of understanding of the whole subject, and she declared him as the Jnani who is eligible to take away all the 1,000 cows. So this is about, there is a lot more to it, of course, but one can go on and on about it. So we'll come to Yajnavalkya Maitreyi Samvada. This is also equally interesting. So who is this Maitreyi? Yajnavalkya had two wives. Yajnavalkya had two wives, Maitreyi and Katyayani. Maitreyi was a Brahmavadini, means one who was interested in discussions about the truth. She was not a Brahmajnani, but she was a Brahmavadini. And then Katyayani was a Stri Prajna, meaning Katyayani was someone who was an ordinary, normal house homemaker. She was happy with her husband and maintaining the house and looking after the children and the ashram and being busy with so she was a Stri Prajna. It is called as a Stri Prajna, which might, offend some of the people, of this generation. But that's how it is. And this Yajnavalkya was a very lucky man because he had, the comfort of a wife who take care of his needs. And also he had intellectual companionship in Maitri. So really, he was good that way. And so, then this Yajnavalkya, he was a Maharshi, as we discussed. And so when you are a Gruhastha and you are a Brahmajnani, you're already a sannyasi, in mentally you're already detached from everything. You're detached from the world and your own BMI, body mind complex. So this kind of Gruhastha who is a sannyasi, this kind of sannyasa is called Vividisha sannyasa. Vividisha sannyasa. And so, after being a Vividisha sannyasi all his life, at one point of time, Yajnavalkya felt, now it's difficult for me to be in the samsara also. I want to go away. This is called Vidvat sannyasa. He wanted to take Vidvat sannyasa, just to be immersed in Brahman and not being bothered about the world at all. He had done everything. He had fulfilled all his duties. Been there, done that. Everything was over. So he says, now I'll take Vidvat sannyasa. And he called his wives Maitreyi and Katyayani, and he told them, look, I have taken care of you. I have given you everything. Now I'm going to distribute my wealth among both of you, and I'm going to leave for sannyasa. And so Maitreyi, the intelligent one, she asks, okay, so you're going to give me a whole lot of money. Once you leave, I'll be left with all this wealth that you're promising. The cows, the 1,000 cows, thousands and thousands of cows that he has acquired from Janaka. You are going to leave me. So will this make me happy? She had one straight question. Will this make me happy? And the resounding answer from Yajnavalkya was no. He had to be very honest. So this Maitreyi figured, if you are giving me something you don't want, why should I take it? You are leaving this samsara, you're willing to leave all your cows, you're willing to leave your wives and your children and your ashrama and your disciples, and you're willing to go away. So you're giving me all that. Why should I take it? So in Bhagavadgita, there's this Krishna talks about three kinds of danas. One is sattvic dana, one is rajasic dana, and one is tamasic dana. So sattvic dana is, of course, which you give with your entire heart because you really want to help someone. Even if you don't have, you give it to someone. That is sattvic dana. Rajasic dana is when you want something from the other person, so you give some dana. This is tamasic dana. She's saying tamasic. You don't want something, so you're dumping it onto something else. It is good only, of course. You can't just throw it away. But still, why would I want it? Was a question she asked. And here we take a pause and we all ask ourselves, what do I love? What do you love? I would like people to type, what is one thing you love? Type or unmute and answer. What do you love? I will go first. What I love is, I thought, among so many things that I love in the in my life, one thing I love, I can say, is I love to meet up with my friends from student life and my childhood friends. I would love to. I love the meeting them and sing old songs, film songs, Kannada or Hindi or Mere Zamane Ka songs. I love to. Okay, Vasuji is saying he loves coffee. And then, any more answers? I love songs. I like to. Vasuji loves coffee. Ninappa. Anyone, please? Come on, a couple more and then we'll continue with the discussion. Hmm? Somebody loves family, somebody loves good dresses, somebody loves to talk, somebody loves to sing, somebody loves to paint, isn't it? We have many, all of us love different things. I love being calm and happy. Yes, absolutely. I love traveling, Monica ji. Yes.
I have unmuted so people can
Oh,
unmute and ask.
yeah,
I mean, and speak also. I'll
yeah,
mute later after this interaction.
yes. Any more answers there? What do I love? What do you love?
Silence. I love silence.
You like silence. Okay. Beautiful. So, I think even if we don't say it aloud, we all know within ourselves what we love. And the next question we ask ourselves is, why do I love it? Why do you love coffee, Vasuji?
Big thrill. Very, very nice taste.
You get a thrill out of drinking coffee. Okay.
Coffee before coffee, coffee during coffee, coffee after coffee.
Coffee during coffee break, coffee after coffee break. Yes, I
Yes.
understand that. So, why does Suma love silence? Why do you like to be
Yeah.
silent? Yeah.
So sometimes, like, the especially when the mind is disturbed a lot, can't bring the mind back to normal. So the silence, that's what it's very hard for me actually.
Hmm.
That's what, like, I try
Yeah.
that silence from
Speaking
the
for
mind.
everyone, I'm sure.
Yes.
Thank
Yeah.
you. Someone loves traveling. Monica. Why do you love traveling, Monica?
Because I relax and I learn when I travel.
Okay. You feel relaxed. Somebody loves to be calm. Someone else said that. So we all have our reasons for loving the things we do, but just notice all the reasons culminate in it makes me happy, isn't it? Something makes me happy. That is why I do it. I love my child because it makes me happy. Okay. I love XYZ because it makes me happy, not because that person is very good. Okay. That person may have all the qualities. He's good, he's wonderful, he's great, he's a gnani, or he's a great singer, he's the idol. But why do I love him? Because it makes me happy, not because it makes that person happy. Maybe it does, but that is immaterial. Ultimately, I will not do anything which doesn't make me personally happy. So this was the jnana that Yajnavalkya gave Maitreyi. Not for the sake of the husband is the husband dear, but for the sake of the self is the husband dear. Not for the sake of the universe is dear, but for the sake of the self is the universe dear. Not for the sake of coffee, that coffee is dear, but for the sake of the self, the coffee or the silence or the traveling or the music, anything is dear only for my own sake. Now, the problem here is I don't understand what is myself. That is why we are into all sorts of problems. More than anything else, I love my own self, which is the truth. I love my own self more than anything else. So, find out who this self is. This is what Yajnavalkya tells Maitreyi. I am leaving and going everything because I love my own self. You might love the me or the ashram or the wealth, everything for its own sake, but actually you love your own self. Understand who this self is. He says that this Tanzan, this is a Tanzan. I put this there so that it triggers my memory. I have to tell this little anecdote about Tanzan. Tanzan, of course, as we all know, was a great singer in Akbar's court. So this once when Tanzan was singing, Akbar was immersed in the bliss of listening to his song, and he said, "Wah wah 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 wah." He said, "Subhanallah, once more, sing again, sing again." So Tanzan very humbly said, "Jahapara, you don't know I'm very happy that you're appreciating my singing, but you haven't heard my Guru sing. If you hear my Guru sing, you will go into bliss." You know. Then, of course, Akbar was, very curious. I want to hear your Guru sing. I want to hear your Guru sing. So Tanzan says, no, it's not easy to hear my Guru sing. He is somewhere deep in the forest. He is not anywhere in your regular some house. Okay, let us go to the forest and ask him to sing. He said, no, my Guru will not sing for your sake. He will sing when he wants to. If you want to listen to his singing, you have to be very patient. And you have to really wait for him to get into the mood and sing. Akbar's interest is piqued to a large extent now. He says, nothing doing, I don't care. Let us go to the forest. Let us go to your Guru, Maharaj, and let us wait for him to sing. And so, Tanzan and Akbar go in search of the Guru to the forest, and they wait in his proximity and to listen to his singing. And finally, one day the Guru sings. And like Tanzan had promised, it is so beautiful, so beautiful, his song, that Akbar and Tanzan both, and all three, the singer and the audience, everyone went into bliss. After that, Akbar asked Tanzan, how does he do it? Even you are a disciple, you also sing beautifully, but there's the different quality to your Guru singing. Why? So Tanzan tells Akbar, that's because, Jahapara, I sing for my king, which is you. My Guru sings for his king, which is the Lord himself. So that is the difference which makes, that is the one which makes all the difference. To whom am I loving things, doing things? That is for my own self. That is what one has to understand here. To whom are you doing everything? The self, this is the Upadesha Yajnavalkya gives Maitreyi. The self is to be seen, it is to be heard, it is to be reflected upon and meditated upon. And one sees, hears, reflects, and knows the self. All is this known. Atma vare društavyaha, śrotavyaha, mantavyaha, nididhyasitavyaha. There's nothing else that you more important in the world other than understanding, talking about Atman. Shrotavyaha, Shravana about Atman, Brahman. Mantavyaha, you do contemplation about Atman. And Nididhyasitavyaha, you abide in that Atman finally. This is what he tells Maitreyi. This is more important. That's why I don't care for the wealth. This is what you have. Should be the goal of your life. So this is all fine, but how do I do it? This Shravana, Manana, Nididhyasana is the bulwark of is the foundation of Vedanta, the study of Vedanta. So how do we do Shravana? How do we do Manana? How do we do Nididhyasana? That itself is a main thing to understand here. Any points? Yeah, please welcome to share. How should we do Shravana? Yes. Shravana is meant to listen. How do we do Shravana? Any thoughts? How to do Shravana? Anyone wants to volunteer?
With ekagrata,
Very good. Yes, with ekagrata, with a concentrated, focused, yes, with full attention, one has to do Shravana. Excellent. Because listening is not so easy. Because the mind is always chattering in the background. Just to listen to the person in front of you is a great service you are doing to the person in front, to the speaker. So Shravana has to be done with great ekagrata, with full focus, and with an open mind. With an open mind. If I come with my own preconceived, notions about the subject, I may be a big scholar about the subject, but still, when I have given the space to talk about it, listen with an open mind, without interfering with your own addendums, or editing it in your own head all the time. And listen with the heart, not the mind, is what Shravana is all about. And Shravana, first of all, is the term is used for something which about this one, Vedanta, or about God. That is Shravana, listening to glories of God, glories of Brahman. That is Shravana. And it is not just about the worldly stuff. That is not Shravana. That is just time pass. That is just noise. So Shravana is about listening to the teachings by the masters through a guru. Authentically, when we hear authentically, the seeds are sown in us. When we listen to the guru, to the Aptavakya of the Vedas, the seeds of Brahmajnana are sown in us. That is why Shravana is very important. And so, and go with the hypothesis. Maybe I don't agree that, I am Brahman, because I don't know. I am an Agnani. Maybe I don't, but go with the hypothesis. The scriptures are saying Aham Brahmasmi. The scriptures are saying Tattvamasi. Isn't it? So go with the hypothesis. Like any scientific inquiry, you go with the hypothesis. We have to go with that. We have to take the Aptavakya and then get into the this thing. And don't get into Purva Paksha right there during the Shravana, asking questions and all. That comes in the Manana stage. Next is listening to everything, that is Shravana. Next is Manana. Manana is clearing your doubts, with great humility, asking the teacher to clear the doubts. Tad vidhi pranipatena pariprashnena sevaya. First surrender, first bhakti, first respect towards the guru and the scriptures. And then you come down to, the guru will come down to your level and answer all your doubts. When you reflect, when you ponder, when you contemplate and you have doubts, the Purva Paksha comes here. And here also, how to ask questions to the guru. See, this is some trivia about, kinds of dialogues one can have. There is Samvada. Samvada is dialogue between Guru and Shishya. Samvada. Like what we are having now between Yajnavalkya and Gargi, Yajnavalkya and Maitreyi, then later Yajnavalkya and Janaka. They're all Samvada. This is coming from a higher to a lower. The dialogues are flowing. So this Krishna Arjuna Samvada in the Bhagavad Gita is also from teacher to disciple. And then there is Vada. Vada is between two equals. Two friends who are, like say Shankaracharya and Mandana Mishra, both of them were scholars and they were putting forth their views. That is a Vada. And there's in a Vada, there's always a judge. Like in that case, there was Ubhaya Bharati who was a judge. So her job is to calm one down, or balance the discussion. That's a Vada. And in fact, in the Bhagavad Gita, Lord Krishna says, Vadosmi, among all the kinds of dialogues, I am Vada, he says. So Vada is the most Shrestha because it's good. It's because between it is two equals. And then is Jalpa. Jalpa is a kind of dialogue where both are opponents. They are like two bulls who are fighting each other. They are very, very stuck with their own ideas, and their only job is to pull the other fellow down. You are wrong. You are wrong. You are wrong. Most of this, all the arguments on TV we see these days is all about Jalpa. Everyone is stuck to their own point of view. Nobody listens. Just goes on and on and on. That is Jalpa. And there is Vitandavada. Vitandavada is just go on saying again some nonsense without even giving your point of view. Just saying you're wrong, you're wrong, you're wrong. Just because you are saying it, you're wrong. That kind of nonsense goes on in Vitandavada. So here, in the Manana stage, what happens is Samvada happens. The disciple with great humility will ask the questions to the teacher or consult the scriptures or an elder talks to his peers and gets all the confusions removed. And during the manana stage, one has to go on remembering that my purpose of life is moksha. My purpose of life is moksha. That goal has to be always kept burning in the background, simmer. Okay. And the Nididhyasana, of course, is a result of Shramana and Manana. And repeated Shramana Manana results in that peace that someone was talking about. I like to be peaceful. I like to be calm. I like to be joyful. That is Nididhyasana. To be rooted in this, knowledge of the scriptures and of Brahman is Nididhyasana. So this is a recommendation of Yajnavalkya to Maitreyi and to all of us. Okay. Yes, then there is Yajnavalkya Janaka Samvada. So like I said, lot of Samvadas are there in this whole scripture. Now we come to one of these sections called Yajna. Many things are there, but I picked up some things which I found interesting. Yajnavalkya Janaka Samvada. Okay. So Janaka himself was, as we mentioned earlier, he was looking for a guru. Though he later he became a Brahmagnani, but now he is looking for a guru. And this Samvada is very interesting because Yajnavalkya knows that he is looking for a guru and he is assessing Janaka also. The way he puts the questions, he is assessing him. So the first question, one of the questions that Janaka asks Yajnavalkya is, what is the light by which we see? So again, all the Vedantins will say Brahman, Brahman, Brahman. No, the teacher will not jump into Brahman at the very outset because he doesn't know the level of the disciple. So he gives a very obvious answer. He says, by the light of the sun, we see. We see by the light of the sun. And so Janaka's next question is very interesting. He says, when the sun has set, by what light do we see? Again, one obvious answer, by the sun, by the light of the moon, Yajnavalkya says. Next question, Janaka. When the sun has set and when the moon has set, by what light do we see? One more obvious answer, by the light of fire. That says, Janaka says, by light of fire or by electricity, we see. Yajnavalkya is still in the realm of material universe. And then Janaka is not satisfied. When the sun has set and the moon has set and the fire has gone out, by what do we see? Anyone? Anyone wants to volunteer to this question? By what light do we see? By what do we see? When there is no sun, when there is no moon, there is no fire. So again, Yajnavalkya says, by speech, by sound. Because sound is the one which gives us direction. It's easy to find out from where the sound is coming from. So it is by the sound, by the light of the sound that we see. And when the sound is shushed, there is deadly silence, there is no moon, it is Amavasya Ratri, nothing is happening. Then by what light do we see? In deep light, deep sleep, for example, what light do we see? Then comes the great answer, by the light of the self, Atma Jyoti. Brahma, this Yajnavalkya says, here we see by the light of Atma Jyoti, the light of the own self. Okay. And again, here it is a great description of what is this self comes. And here it's a very interesting, Yajnavalkya gives an interesting account of this awareness or light and its activities. How does this awareness, how does this light self behave in the manifest world? So here is very interesting. It's everything that we know, not that anything, this is very something we haven't heard or experienced, but still is very interesting, which is why we are going to into it. So Yajnavalkya says, this awareness or light or this Brahman or this self, he takes the ashraya of the Pancha Pranas. What are the Pancha Pranas? Prana, Udana, Vyana, Samana, Apana. All these 5 pranas, they take care of various functions in the body. digestion, circulation, respiration, excretion, and mental faculties, everything, everything that happens in a human body or a living being's body is taken care by the Panchapranas. So Yajnavalkya is telling Janaka, this self, this Purusha, actually he uses that word Purusha. This Purusha takes the help of the Panchapranas, and what does he do? He moves in the world. He, as it were, thinks. He, as it were, moves in the world. This Purusha is all that I see in the world is this Purusha with the help of the Panchapranas moving and thinking on doing lot of things. This is just metaphorically thinking, moving and all that. Everything is done by this. Where does he move? Again, see, in this whole dialogue, it is full. Yajnavalkya gives a lot of common day examples. He says, like a fish that moves between one bank to another all day long. What does a fish do? It goes from this bank to another bank, that bank to another bank. So this Purusha, with the help of the Panchapranas, he moves between the two states. What are the two states? Waking and deep sleep. Dreaming is different, he says. This Purusha is always going between the banks of waking and deep sleep. Either he is deeply asleep or he is waking. He is moving around. This Purusha is moving. And about the dream state, a whole big section about the dream state. Okay, then he says, about the dream state also very interesting insights are there in this whole section, which is why it interested me, which is why I am sharing with everyone here. The effulgent infinite being, the Purusha, who travels alone, makes the body insensible in sleep, but he himself remains awake, and taking with him the luminous particles of the organs, watches those which lie dormant. Again, he comes to the waking state. So this is a description of our dream state. The Purusha, what does he do? The body is insensible in sleep. The body is kind of dead to the world, dead to you, dead to me when I sleep. But the Purusha is awake. What does he do? He takes the luminous particles of the organs. That means the subtle body he takes with him, and he watches those that are lying dormant. That is what he says. And then, again, the effulgent infinite being, the Purusha, who is immortal and travels alone. See, this effulgent infinite being, Purusha, who is immortal, travels alone, is being repeated in verse after verse after verse. Why? So that it goes deep into our conscience. Just don't say Purusha and forget what he is all about. He is the effulgent one. He is the infinite one. He is the one who is the only one. That is being reiterated in verse after verse after verse. And also, in those times, it was all Shruti. You had to hear the words from the master, and then you had to memorize it. That is why things are getting repeated again and again and again. And so this Purusha guards the unclean nest. The body, Yajnavalkya calls as the unclean nest, with the help of the vital breath, the prana, and he himself moves out of the nest. And that immortal entity wanders wherever he likes. See, this is what is happening every night when we go to sleep. This is what is happening. The Purusha, the immortal one, is wandering everywhere. That is my real self is wandering everywhere with no care about the body, because it is being held alive with the prana. Look at the compassion of the Purusha. He is keeping this body alive with the pancha pranas. All the activities in the bodies are happening of its own accord. I do nothing about it. When I'm awake, I claim so many things. I did this, I did that, I'll do this, I do. No. When I'm sleeping, who is taking care of this body? It is the Purusha with the help of the pancha pranas who is taking care of the body. And he also goes away. He moves out of this unclean nest. Why is the body called as the unclean nest? Because of the identification with it. Because of my identification with the body, it is an unclean nest. It's a limitation. It is limited. The Purusha is severely limited by this body, BMI. That is why it is unclean. And then more about the dream state. When he sleeps, then after taking with him the material from this world, he destroys the material and he builds it up again in his own light, and he dreams. This is our dream state. From where does the material subject matter come from our dreams, for our dreams? From our material world, from our waking state. All our vasanas we recreate again in the dream. The Purusha recreates the material in the dream. In that state, the Purusha is self-illumined because the sense organs are all withdrawn. There is no sun, there is no moon, there is no fire, there is no light, there is no Shabda also. So where is this? How is it illumined? By it is self-illumined. How is the dream state illumined? By the self, by the Purusha. And who is creating all this? There's nothing solid there. It is the Sukshma world. He himself creates the chariots and the horses and the roads. In that age, Yajnavalkya is talking of these kind of things. So he is indeed the creator. And some more interesting things. Where does the mind rest? Is one question which we might ask ourselves. During sleep, where is the mind? He says, is the Hita Nadi, in which the mind, the subtle body rests. And this Hita Nadi is as minute as a hair, divided 1,000-fold. And it is full of white, blue, yellow, green, and red juices. And it is a seat of the subtle body and is a storehouse of impressions. Simply, more and more details of what happens in the dream stage. The mind has gone into the subtlest nadi in me, which is called in the body, which is called the Hita Nadi. From there, all the vasanas are taken by this Purusha, and this dream world is created. And so, this is very interesting. Yajnavalkya tells Janaka, that is why let no one wake a sleeping man suddenly, for it is difficult to cure if he does not get back rightly into this body. We have heard our elders telling, yo, yaro malkondidare takshana ebbisbedi, magu malgide takshana ebbisbedi. Why? Because the Purusha is wandering somewhere. If the subtle body is taken and gone somewhere and wandering somewhere. And if in the stage by stage, we go to sleep stage by stage, we come back to the waking state also stage by stage. Do not suddenly wake up someone. It can be very traumatic and it can cause untold damage, is what Yajnavalkya is telling about the dream state here. There is more trivia about the dream state that Yajnavalkya says. He says, there is no prarabdha karma in the dream. Why? In the dream, we may do hundreds of things. Kill someone, abuse someone, murder someone, steal, rob. Anything you do, there is no prarabdha karma. Why? Because there is no ego at all in the dream. It is all spinning tails by itself. The Purusha is spinning tails. The ego is completely withdrawn. There is no volition in the dream. Spontaneously things are occurring in the dream. That is why there is no prarabdha karma. But, says Yajnavalkya, with the grace of the Guru and God, the prarabdha karmas can be resolved in the dream state also. The prarabdha karma which can cause me great agony in a waking state can be resolved, can be mellowed down in the dream itself. It can be worked out in a dream with the Guru. Minor suffering is caused through nightmares. We suffer sometimes nightmares. I'm drowning, I'm choking, I'm suffocating, I can't get up, I can't scream. Somebody is kidnapping me. So many things happen to me in my nightmares. All that, after reading this, I came to know, don't worry, because your prarabdha karma is getting resolved. Something huge was going to happen to you in your waking state. And through these nightmares, maybe they are recurring, but they're all getting resolved and dissolved. This is the grace of the Purusha. This is the importance of a good night's sleep. This is the importance of dreaming for a jiva. such experiences in a dream, or it's the process of the exhaustion of karma, which is of an unfavorable nature. See, so that is what I think of the great compassion of this Purusha. So much compassion. Even though he himself, of his own, volition, has taken this jiva, this body with the panchapranas and all, he's making it easy for him to get out of this also. So beautiful. And for me, the whole takeaway in this entire dream episode is he moves as it were. He thinks as it were. The Purusha. See, the whole universe looks very solid to us. Something is happening. But the words as it were, it appears as though something is happening. Nothing is actually happening. That is what is called as mithya. Mithyavada. That is what is happening. As it were, ashte. It's all an appearance. What is happening in the dream? As it were. Because the moment I wake up, dream is dissolved. The same is with the waking state, is what Yajnavalkya is telling Janaka. Understand, the Purusha with this body moves as it were, thinks as it were, appears to be doing something. Two things have to be understood here by Vedantins or the seekers or the mumukshus. Number one, it is not me who is moving, thinking, doing. It's not me. It is the Purusha. There is nothing called me here. There is no personal individual identity. There is no me. Number one. Number two, as it were, appears to be, even that understanding that the Purusha is doing is also an appearance. Ultimately, it is just all an appearance in the screen called Purusha. This is what one can understand with the dialogue between Yajnavalkya and Janaka. So Janaka, at each stage of this, these Upadeshas, he goes on saying, Maharshi, I'll give you 1,000 more cows. Please tell me more. He's so absorbed in the whole explanation. One more. No, please tell me some more. I'll give you 1,000 cows. So cows are being exchanged in plenty during this whole of this conversation. And some of the takeaways from this I have shared with you. Then finally, this impressed me a lot. I mean, this made an impression on me. The last bit before we close for the day is this. Okay. Oh, yeah. I forgot to include about this deep sleep. In the deep sleep, there's a metaphor about the eagle. He says, Yajnavalkya says, in deep sleep. So in the between the states, he moves like a fish, he said. So in deep sleep, like an eagle which has been roaming and, flying the skies everywhere, he's tired, and then he comes and folds his wings and rests on his nest. That is what the Purusha does in deep sleep. All of us are resting completely in that Purusha in deep sleep. What happens in the deep sleep? Atra pita apita bhavati, mata amata bhavati, lokaha alokaha bhavanti. The father is not a father, the mother is not a mother, the world is not the world. We completely forget our identities in deep sleep. And in deep sleep, there is no desire, there is no fear, there is no grief, there is no pain, nothing in deep sleep. Just a deep rest. And so Yajnavalkya continues, when you're aware in your deep sleep also, that is liberation. That is what a Jnani does. Yanisha sarva bhutani tasyam jagarti sanyami. To be aware in deep sleep is liberation. We are all Jnanis only in deep sleep, but we don't know. We are all one with the Purusha in deep sleep, but we don't know. Only a Jnani is aware of being the Purusha in deep sleep. Therefore, he is called a Jnani, and therefore he is liberated. So, if one understands the Supreme Self and knows it as his own self, then for what desire or for whose sake should he undergo the sufferings of the body? Yajnavalkya concludes this whole section with this great rhetorical question. Atmanam ched vidaniyat ayam asmiti purushaha kimichham kasya kamaya shariram anusanjvaret. When I know that I am that imperishable, immutable, Brahman, myself, my true nature as myself, Why will I, go with this problems of the body and mind complex? Why will I shake? Why will I shake with the problems of the body mind complex? I will not. For whose kimicham kasya kamaya? For what desire will I do it? I don't need anything. The Purusa is Purnam. Remember, Purnamada, Purnamidam. I don't need anything to complete me. I'm already complete. And for whose sake? Kasya kamaya. For whose sake should I undergo the sufferings of the body? Therefore, Yajnavalkya decides to leave the ashrama and take sannyasa. And so after this whole dialogue, Yajnavalkya takes Janaka as his disciple because he appreciates Janaka's mumukshutva. Tell me more, tell me more, tell me more. And the questions he goes on asking also convinces Janaka that he is a worthy disciple. So the time now is 7:52. Just one more I want to share because I was very, touched by this prayer. The prayer of a dying person. The prayer of a dying person. This is one small bit that comes in this Brihadaranyaka, just Janaka's thing. Because death is very painful and none of us think about death also. Because we think it's inauspicious to think about death, right? So we kind of brush it aside, though it's always there in the background. And that's why Krishna says in the Gita, think of me alone, all the time. Antakale cha mameva smaran mukta kalevaram yah prayasi sadbhavam yati na. There is no samshaya, nasti astya samshaya. There's no doubt you will attain to my loka if you die thinking of me alone. But thinking of God at the time of death is not easy. In one of the scriptures, it is said, Prana prayana samaye kafavata pittaihi kantavarodana vidhau smaranam kutaste. How can I think of God? How can you, my dear Manava, think of God? And you cannot say, I will think of God at the time of death. Prana prayana samaye kapha, vata, pitta. The whole body is shaking with hundreds of problems. Kantavarodana, the tongue, you are tongue-tied because of the hundreds of, problems that are happening in you. Because some disease has matured or something has happened and, your whole organs are all failing. Where is smaranam kutaste? How can you think of God at this hour? Therefore, think of God all the time. That is the solution. Don't wait for the dying time to think of God. Think of God all the time. And your prayer, this is Yajnavalkya's prayer at the time of dying. Yajnavalkya was an upasaka of the sun god. He was an upasaka of the sun god. See, in this whole upasana business, you take one entity and you propitiate it as Brahman. So this Yajnavalkya was doing upasana of sun as Brahman, not as this thing, as something that illuminates the world. It is Brahman himself for him. So there is this verse in this Brihadaranyaka Upanishad, which is, it says about death, the time of death. Just as a bullock cart which is heavily loaded with material, almost beyond its capacity, dragged by two powerful bulls, it creaks and groans because it is heavily loaded and moves slowly and reluctantly because of the weight. He's talking about the time of death, what happens to us. In a similar manner, this individual about to expire moves out of the body reluctantly, like a heavily laden cart, pulled by forces which belong to the other world, with creaks and groans caused by the weight of attachment that he still has to this world. That weight does not allow him to go freely. That is why this prayer for a dying man has been given. Prana is being wrenched out. The Sukshma Sharira is wrenched out of the physical body. So in that time, we have to make an effort. See, this, it's a very, very familiar shloka for all of us, right? Hiranmayena patrena satyasyapi hitam mukham tatvam pushanna pavrunu satya dharmaya drushtaye. It is very familiar because we chant this while doing the Surya Namaskara. If people have attended yoga classes, It's very familiar. No? This is what we chant before the Surya Namaskara, Hiranmayena Patrina. And I have also been chanting it forever, not knowing that this is actually a prayer for a dying person. We are praying to the sun god. What are we saying? We are saying the face or the nature of Brahman is hidden in a golden vessel. Hiranmayena Patrena Satyasyapi Hitam Mukham. The face of Brahman is, covered in this golden vessel. Tattvam Pushan Apavrunu. O Pushan, nourisher of the world, sun god, please remove it. Apavrunu, so that I can see myself, whose reality is Satya. I may see my face. This is what we are telling the sun god, because the light of the self is brilliant. And with my eyes, I cannot see the light of the self. It is brilliant. What happened to Arjuna in the Vishwarupa Darshana? He was terrified. He couldn't take the brilliance. And it is, Sanjaya describes it as the brilliance of 1,000 suns. If they were to rise in the sky like that, how would it be? I'd be blinded. So a dying person knows that he is going into the light. And so he is requesting sun god to reduce the brilliance, Brahman to reduce the brilliance, so that I may see my own face. And then, O Pushan, the sloka continues, O Pushan, O the solitary Ruhi, the traveler, O Yama, O Surya, O Prajapati, take away thy rise, curb thy brightness. I wish to behold the most benign for my time. I myself am that person, and I am immortal. When my body falls, may my vital forces return to the air. So he's giving instruction. He's telling himself, let my body be ashes to ashes, dust to dust. Let them go back to the cosmos from where it goes. And O deity of deliberation, that means the mind, recollect that all I have done. He's telling his mind, recollect that all of you have done and ask for forgiveness. That awareness should be there before one leaves the body. O fire, who art the syllable Om, lead us along the good way towards our riches. That means he's requesting the fire god to take us through the northern Uttarayana Marga to the higher heavens. And then, O Lord, you know everybody's mental states. Remove the evil from me, and I repeatedly salute to you. That is the prayer of a dying person, Yajnavalkya's special prayer, and that she says we should all be aware and we should take care of all these things, take care of the body. That is, with awareness, give up the body. With awareness, give up the mind. With awareness, give up the Sukma Sharira and ask to be united with the Purusha. So, a lot of things I have said. I hope it made sense. Thank you so much. Taken a lot of time. Thank you. Om Tat Sat.